What's going on, everybody? This is Joshua Bishop, and you're listening to Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
Taking your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
And welcome back to Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when you make great barbecue. This is Wrestling Cheers. We like to talk about things on the Northeast Ohio independent wrestling scene. We preview shows, we review shows, and sometimes we even have interviews along the way. This is a listener Q&A episode with Brock from Smokin' Jay's Barbecue. I'm your host, Justin Summers, and Wrestling Cheers is brought to you by the Trending Topics Network and Midwest Territory. Please rate, review, and subscribe your ever listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com, and we have the merch store over at whatamaneuver.net. Like I said, this is a listener question episode with Brock. And how's it going today, Brock?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good. We're recording this the day after Christmas and all that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, how was your Christmas?
I mean, it was all right. I had a party that I had to cook for Christmas Eve, and then I went and spent some time with my family. And then, I mean, Christmas Day, I don't ever do anything. I usually get some. There's a Japanese restaurant that's close to me called A1. So I usually get some like sushi and some hibachi from them and just like watch a movie and shit at home on Christmas Day. So that's what I did yesterday. And then my one roommate went to the bar with some of his friends to watch the Browns game, and a whole bunch of them came over afterwards, and we just got really high and played Uno Flip for a little while. So yeah, it was a pretty good Christmas. How was yours?
Didn't literally really do anything because of kind of like COVID coming back around, or at least having a lot of these spikes and everything. We decided not to go out, not to do anything. Kind of actually started back of last weekend with the AIW show. My wife was hanging out with her aunt and all that stuff, and since then, like her aunt, her cousin, a couple other people in her family like has caught COVID. So actually on Monday, we decided to like separate a little bit, where I stayed at the apartment and she went to her parents' house, and she got tested twice and negative both times. She even the second time got tested for, I think, the flu, and that came back negative. So because like she was kind of feeling a little sick, but like it wasn't 100% COVID like, but she wasn't 100% sure, and we had to figure that stuff out. And then like one of the places that I do go for Christmas, like it's my best man's family, people that are very much like family to me. They've kind of had a COVID scare and they canceled Christmas. So it was like that came after we decided not to go anywhere. She came home, Amanda came home Friday after her second test came back negative. And yeah, like we haven't really left since. Like Friday, I went to the store, got all the groceries we need, and I'm not leaving until tomorrow to go to work. So like we had like a very quiet day at home. We watched, like Christmas Eve, we watched movies. Christmas Day, we watched some movies, watched the Browns game. And that was like, that's pretty kind of much it. Like it just had like a nice chill at home Christmas. And I've never in my life done that. I've always gone out and did stuff. But this year, yeah, we just didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped kind of doing stuff for all holidays almost 10 years ago. I don't know. My family's cool. Like my cousins and my aunts and uncles, they're all great. But we have a very large family, and So you just kind of get stuck in one place, and it's hard to move around. I mean, like, we're talking like 60 people inside of a house. So especially right now with COVID being a thing, I'm not all that comfortable being in such closed quarters with people, with that many people. So I'm definitely not doing anything like holiday stuff right now with the family, just because of that. But like, just my siblings and my parents, my nieces and nephews, that's different. It's, a lot more contained. So, I mean, I definitely enjoyed being over at my parents' house on Christmas Eve, but yeah, Christmas Day, I hung out on my couch all day. It was awesome.
What's Uno Flip like? I was just at a store and I seen that there was a Marvel Uno Flip, and I love Uno. I love Marvel, but like, I've never played the aspect of Flip.
Oh man. Well, first off, are you and Amanda competitive at all?
Oh, we can be.
Okay, then you might not want to play this together.
Okay.
No, I mean, so you have two sides. You have like your regular side of cards,
mm-hmm.
and then you have another side that has like darker colors. So we call it the light side, the dark side. And there's a card that it's your flip card. So like, you play that, and then you have to, everybody flips their deck over, and then you play with the other side. Now on the dark side, you have like a draw 5, and then you have another one it's a draw color card.
Mm-hmm.
So you lay that down, and then it's a wild. So the person that's beside of you, they have to draw until they pull whatever color it is that you said.
Okay.
So if you say orange, they have to pull until they get an orange card.
Okay.
So during quarantine, me and both of my roommates, my roommate Pat and I, would love to tell this story. So I'm kind of glad that you asked about it. So I have two roommates, Pat and Bree. They are now very happily engaged. They're getting married in October next year. I'm very excited for their wedding. But one of their friends was over at the house during quarantine, and we were playing Uno Flip, and Pat played that draw color card on Bree, and she was like 5 cards in and still pulling, and he's going, oh, every single time she would pull another card, and she's like 15 cards in, and he's still going, oh, and she just goes, you know what? Fuck you, and throws the cards down and walks back to the bedroom. And me, Pat, and their friend that was over, we're all just kind of looking at each other like, well, what are we supposed to do now? We just kind of like, the three of us talked, amongst ourselves. And then Bree comes out and she goes, guys, I just want to apologize for the way I acted, and I shouldn't have done that. And Pat started to say something, and she goes, not you. I was apologizing to Brock and Judy. Fuck you.
I think I'm competitive, but I don't know if I'm competitive to that point. I don't feel like I am.
I'm not, I want to have fun. I want to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if I lose or if I win. It really, it really doesn't matter. But some people, they get a certain type of way about losing, and Bree is she's fine whenever it comes to losing. I think it was just that we had been all locked up in the house together. That she was a little bit more on edge that day. But yeah, it's definitely a lot more competitive. It's really fun if everybody around is like a little bit fucked up, because it just gets chaotic whenever you start playing those flip cards, and everybody has to flip all the cards in their hand. Yeah. And then you got to flip your draw deck and stuff. So it gets real competitive. It gets real chaotic. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend playing it.
I just got to remember where I seen that at, the Marvel one, and probably pick it up. Cause for me, Uno was like one of my favorite card games, hands down. That was probably the first card game, or one of the first games I learned. I have grandparents who, they always had multiple Uno decks. So we went over there, played it a lot, and I've always had so much fun. I have like multiple different kinds of decks. I know with all of our games, like I have a Chicago Bears Uno. I got an old WWE Uno, and I say old, not like, oh, it's from like the 90s or the early 2000s. No, it's from like 10 years or so ago. I know I got a Family Guy one. That's a decent age. I forget some of the other ones I got. Because I got into the special themed Unos back in the early 2000s when a place that I was working at, a friend of mine, coworker, brought in Star Trek Uno. And I'm not a Star Trek fan, but learning about the different specialty cards, it made it really fun. And like, we played the shit out of that.
Yeah, I was kind of similar. My grandparents had a whole bunch of different Uno decks, and they had Skippo also. That was another one that we played. And then my family, like, we have a game that we play. It's called Shanghai. It's a lot like Phase 10.
Okay.
But like, you know, New Year's Day, we have a tradition. We call it Triple F Day, and me and all my siblings go over to my parents' house and we watch all the bowl games, eat a shit ton of food. So, you know, food, football. And then it's the one day a year that we can fart around my mom and she won't like complain about it. So that's where the other F comes in. So food, football, and farting. It's been like a nice tradition in my family's house for my entire life.
I never learned how to play, what was it, Skippo?
Yeah.
And then there's another one you mentioned. I never learned how to play that one either.
Shanghai is the game that I play with my family. It's like Phase 10.
Phase 10, that's the one I've never learned either.
Yeah. It's another fun one, man. All those like old card games, I don't know. They're kind of nostalgic for me, I guess.
One card game that you just kind of reminded me of, because you mentioned one that you played with your family, one that I played with my family, and I don't know many people who have played it, and I just had to Google it really quick to remember the exact name. It was called Millborns.
I've never heard of that one.
Millebornes, and it's the one that I Googled, which had the cover and design and everything that I remember, says it's a Parker Brothers French card game. And if I remember correctly, it has to do with like driving. Some cards have numbers on it like 50, 25, 75, and I'm just going by what's kind of like on the front. And then there's like a stop card and a go card, and you have to like, the point is to get up to a certain number. And I don't remember the exact number, but I want to say it's like maybe you play one card at a time, and then you can also play these stop and go card. Like it's been so long since I played it, and I need to like buy it and learn how to play it again, because it's probably been, and I mean quite serious, like over 20 years.
Hey, maybe you'll be able to find one of those at Toy Hio on February 12th.
Yeah, maybe.
Cheap plug.
I don't remember if I've looked for that there. I think when I go to Toy Hio, like there's definitely like certain things I'm looking for, but whether I'm going to find them, it just depends. Like the fact that like not many vendors right now have VHS tapes. Like there's one beside Rick that always does. He can be hit or miss of what he has, and I think I've seen a lot of Ninja Turtles VHS tapes around there, but not a whole lot, because I know that's one thing that I need to get back into. I love to see just a horror one pop up of a bunch of horror tapes, because I think that'd be fucking awesome.
You and your VHS tapes.
Fucking love them.
I was listening. I haven't got to finish it yet, but I was listening to the Christmas episode with Righteous Jesse. That's one of the episodes that you do every year that I always look forward to. Also, I love him.
I love him too, and like the fact that like him and I could just like get together. Like I hadn't like known really notes planned. It was just me and him shooting the shit, and the fact that even early in the episode, I had a feeling it was going to bite me in the ass. Where I'm like, this will be a short episode, and then it ended up being like over an hour and a half.
Yeah, I started laughing whenever you said that.
I was going to edit in a oops, but I was like, nah, people will get it. Like, oh, it's supposed to be a short episode, but here I am seeing this episode like an hour and a half. So you didn't go as short as you wanted to. No, I didn't. No,
but
I did not.
To be fair, though, you did say an hour and a half at the most.
Yeah, I did say that, but because of like his schedule and mine, I'm like, I wanted to get like a nice hour in episode, and then like we both could like go to bed and all this shit. And then it would end up being an hour and a half, which granted, it's only an extra half hour. But I know with him, like how early he gets up, like that half hour could have been something. And we also like talked a little bit before we started recording. So I'm like, man, fucking keeping him so long and all this shit. But it all worked out. But yeah, I do love me some VHS tapes. And actually, I kind of did what I wanted to do this year. Almost every movie we watched Christmas-wise was a VHS tape. The only one we didn't, because I don't own it on VHS, but I will buy it, and I guess it looks like it's pretty cheap, is Elf. But other than that, every other movie we watched, VHS.
VHS was still a thing whenever Elf came out?
You're talking like right at the end, because I looked when that came out. That came out in like 2003.
Okay.
And VHS was still holding on. I'm trying to remember when the last one was made. Like you're talking like 2005 or so is when it really started to die. I mean, God, when you think about it too, like it's crazy that we still have DVDs.
Yeah, it is.
You would kind of figure those would die off, but maybe just some people don't have the money to upgrade. But I mean, I don't know, we're to a point where if you have a video game system, you have a Blu-ray player. Blu-ray players are very cheap, but one thing that I like about having a DVD copy and like something where it's comes like multiple versions, like, oh, here's the Blu-ray, the DVD, and there's a digital code with it, is the fact if I get to the point where I have kids, and if there's a movie they really, really like, I know there's multiple copies. Like, I know for me growing up, I beat the shit out of Ghostbusters. But luckily that was a VHS tape, and I know years later, like I had a friend of mine, his son loved Cars, but that was like the DVD age, and like that DVD ended up getting like fucked up. And so now you get to a point where, if that DVD copy gets messed up, like you have a Blu-ray copy, and maybe if they have the ability to watch digital, like boom, there's a digital copy too. So it's like you never have to worry about like, oh my God, what if this copy gets screwed up?
I mean, I'm kind of surprised that physical media at all still is around, because, I mean, you can go to fucking CVS and spend $40 on a Roku, Like, you can go to any store and get a Roku or a Fire Stick or a Chromecast and do everything digitally. So physical media still surviving is kind of surprising to me.
I think one thing that keeps physical media going is the fact that when we go from one physical media generation to the next, that not everything crosses over. So there are definitely for example, like VHS tapes. There are things that are on VHS that you can only watch on VHS because when they came to DVDs, they're like, we're not making that. And same thing when you got to the DVD to Blu-ray era, and there's some stuff like you can't find digitally. Like I realized this recently. I don't care what anybody says about it. I grew up loving them, and I love Spice Girls. And the movie, I come to find out, you couldn't get anywhere, at least when I last looked. You couldn't stream it anywhere. You couldn't buy it anywhere. Like, you had to have a physical media copy to watch it. It might have changed since then. I kind of hope it does, but the fact that, I happen to have a DVD copy of it made it to be where, I don't have to worry about not being able to find my movie because here's my DVD copy.
Well, I mean, if you're okay with watching it, in not the most legal way, I just found a stream for it. So.
I mean, there are those aspects. I know I used to have a Chromecast, and then I had a Android tablet, and I had the whatever the big illegal stream thing was, and I used to illegally stream so much shit. Now I got to a point where I've started buying movies to where it just didn't matter. But I mean, hey, it's definitely to each their own. But the fact that you have to go an illegal way to find a movie like that, because definitely I think one of the biggest things is whether it be certain rights and paying people. For example, one movie that I watched on, it wasn't Christmas Eve, it was the 23rd. I watched for the first time, Wish You a Turtle Christmas, which was a live action Turtles short that was 22 minutes long, and God, was it horrible. And I understand when we got to the DVD age, they're like, yeah, we're not converting that. No, that's bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I usually can find a stream illegally for anything that I want to watch, and I don't really pay for very much. So, yeah. I mean, Son-in-Law is another movie that was kind of like that, where you can't find it on streaming services. and I saw Pam was saying that she like replied to somebody on Twitter about not being able to watch Son-in-Law, so I went and found that illegal stream and sent it to her. But yeah, I mean, they're out there. I can find pretty much anything I want to watch.
I need to watch Son-in-Law. It's been a little while. I used to love that movie. That was one of those movies for me that I watched it a lot, but I never owned it. We might have rented it once, but it was on TV enough, like HBO or Stars, whatever the movie channel it would be on, that I would watch it like every single time. And I fucking love that movie, but I've never, ever owned it.
I remember always seeing it on CMT.
That makes total sense.
I don't know why I remember that specifically, but it was always on CMT.
God, yeah, it's been like, that's like when people talk about like Thanksgiving movies, like that doesn't get talked about, and it's hands down a Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah, I mean, She Goes Home for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's such a good movie.
I think it's my favorite Pauly Shore movie.
Biodome is mine, but yeah, Son-in-Law is right up there.
I've never seen Biodome.
Get the fuck out of here, Summers. Are you serious?
I'm serious. And the sad thing is, I think I have a copy somewhere, but the reason why I have a copy is because like it got mixed in with one of my ex's stuff. Like I think an ex that I dated the mid 2000s, and just somehow like she never asked for it back, or not like I was keeping it from her. But that was one of her favorite movies. I've never watched that movie. I think I've seen parts of it, but I don't think I've ever sat down and I'm like, I'm going to watch Biodome.
Dude, you have to watch it. It's hilarious, man. You have to watch it.
I feel like nobody talks about Jury Duty either.
That's one that I always forget about, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't even think about Pauly Shore being in that movie until you just brought it up.
Like, it's definitely a movie I've seen multiple times, and it goes again with like, I've never owned it, but I remember it, but I can't tell you that much about it.
Yeah, that was another one that I used to always see on TV.
Good old Pauly Shore. 90s, kind of fucking love 90s comedies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, like, I was having a conversation with one of my friends that I work with, because he was born, I think, in 95. Okay. And I'm like, dude, there were so many good movies that came out the year you were born. Mm-hmm. I just started like, rattling some off, and he's like, yeah, I haven't seen that. Like, God, fucking young people kill me.
I'm kind of that way with some 80s movies. Like, I know there's a ton that I've never seen. Like, people, that have to be named, but I know, like, I've never seen, what's the detention one?
Breakfast Club?
Yeah, I've never seen Breakfast Club.
Damn, that was a good one.
I've never seen Fast Times.
It's another good one.
I don't think I've ever watched it all the way through. Like, I swear I've seen most of the movie, but I don't think I've ever sat down and watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off all the way through. But I feel like I've seen like every part though at the same time.
That's another good one, but I'm at a point with that movie that like I've seen it so many times that I'm just tired of it.
Yeah, I can see that. At least I've seen Ghostbusters.
I've seen Ghostbusters.
Seen Ghostbusters more times than I could ever count.
I could probably count on one hand how many times I've watched it, and I don't think I would even need a full hand.
Damn.
I'm not much of a movie person, honestly. Like, as I'm sitting here talking shit about, my friend that was born in 1995, not seeing a lot of 90s movies, I don't watch a lot of movies. TV in general is just like background noise for me, because I'm constantly doing something. Like, I go to work and I work all day at my real job, and then I come home and I'll put like The Office on TV or something, and then I'm sitting there doing stuff for Smoking Jays on my phone. So I don't watch TV or movies or anything anymore. I just listen to shit.
Yeah, I think whenever I went over the road, that's when like my TV habits totally changed. And now I'm to the point where to start a new show, I have to really be invested, whether it be something that's old or something that's, hey, there's a new show coming out, watch this. And definitely if I get behind on something, I will abandon it quick. Like, or like oh God, I don't even remember how many years ago I got behind on American Dad, stopped watching it. Family Guy was one of my favorite shows for a very long time. I got real behind on it. Stopped watching it. I got behind on, I'm like a season behind on Bob's Burgers. We eventually want to get Hulu and catch up, but got to a point where it's just doing like so many other things. And then,
Yep.
yeah, it just made it harder to where it's like, if I want to sit down and watch something, I think that's why I'm like really invested into a lot of the Marvel shows, to where like their seasons are short. Like I think that the longest one was WandaVision. I want to say that was 12 episodes. And most of the ones since then have been like close to half that. Like they just finished the Hawkeye show. That was 6 episodes.
I mean, the only show that I know I'm going to actually carve out time to watch and pay attention to is whenever the new season of Ozark comes out next month.
I've always heard a lot about that show, and I forget, for whatever reason, I was never interested in it.
That's one of them that, like, me and both my roommates, like, we all watch that together. Like, we'll find, a couple of days where we don't have something going on, and we can, all three sit down to watch it.
So how's Smokin' Jay's Barbecue going?
Oh, man. Slightly depressing, honestly. So I don't know how much it's really been out there for everybody, but so like the lease that we signed on this place was only a 3-month lease because we were hoping to be able to get some investors to be going in there so that we could buy it. It's still the goal, but we're kind of switching the vision a little bit, if that makes sense for right now. Right now we're just, instead of doing the whole carry out and Grubhub thing, we're going to try to focus on doing more pop-up stuff like we do at like Toy Hio. It's just different places that we can go and kind of set up, kind of try to focus more on that, focus more on catering. So, hit me up and, use that discount code Cheers, and I'll still give you that 10% off on the catering services too. But yeah, I'm supposed to be meeting with the building owner this week so that we can kind of talk about a new lease. But yeah, things have been slow. I guess I'll say it like that. There's been a few changes without burying anybody also. So, me and Kurt just trying to keep things rolling and trying to get more business coming in. But yeah, things have been slow, but I'm still very optimistic about the future. So that's a positive, right?
Yeah, I think that's one way to look at it. The past 2 years have been so crazy.
It has, yeah.
That I could understand like having some of the issues, but like the pop-up stuff, like getting the name out there is a great idea. Like, I don't know if this isn't in your plans, but I would love to see you guys pop up at that North Canton show.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of something that we've talked about. So I posted on my personal Twitter yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't know. I'm picking up a truck this week.
Okay. And
just a normal pickup truck. But I'm not paying anything for it because this guy he wants to get rid of it because his dad's getting older. They're trying to get all the vehicles off of his property, and they've got a farm truck that he needs to get rid of. So, with me being able to acquire that, now I'm kind of looking at a food trailer also. So if I can get a food trailer that I can, pull with that truck, then doing something at that North Canton show that AIW set up at is going to be a lot easier for me to do. Mm-hmm. And North Canton, for those of you that are listening that don't know, North Canton is where I live. They do stuff like that every single month. Maybe not bringing in entertainment stuff, but they've got something going on, on Main Street every month during the summer. So us being able to set up for that stuff would be a lot easier. Downtown Canton, they do a big thing. It's called First Friday. Mm-hmm. the first Friday of every month, all the bars and businesses and everything that's in downtown Canton, it just does, just blows it up. Like they've got, every bar has a band that's playing, and there's a bunch of food trucks and vendors that are set up all over the street. So we'll be able to do that type of stuff easier. The kitchen that we're cooking out of is in Maslin. That's where the building that we want to buy is at. So we're trying to, do some more stuff to get kind of ingrained in the Maslin community as well, which Maslin is where I grew up. So trying to open up a business, 30 seconds away from my childhood house is kind of cool. It's been a little bit more difficult to get the support from the local community.
Mm-hmm.
The AIW family has been insane. Like the amount of people that drove down for our soft open weekend was awesome. I would say 60% of our customers from that first weekend were people that knew us from AIW. So having the support from the AIW community has been insane. Now I just needed to get it from my local community, and that's the part that we're kind of struggling with right now.
If I'm correct with First Friday, isn't it what is it called, where you're allowed to take beer from or alcohol from venue to venue? Yeah,
they put it into a plastic cup, and that's like the one time. That's the one day a month that you can walk around with an open container in Canton.
I remember the brief time that I was Ubering and lifting. I got around that area on a First Friday, and it was trying to pick somebody up was a pain in the ass, just because they have that whole area kind of blocked off, and you have to pick somebody up in a specific place.
Well, and so for people that don't know, downtown Canton is all one-way streets to be good. So driving around downtown Canton to begin with is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But then you close everything down, for First Friday, and it makes it even worse. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And honestly, I try to stay out of downtown as much as I can. Not even just for First Friday, but I've only went down to First Friday one time, and they've been doing it, I want to say, somewhere around 5 years now, and I've went once. There's too many people. I get anxious.
Yeah, fucking the first time I ever went downtown Canton, I'd been driving maybe a couple years, and I had just got my license suspended, and I was actually going to the Canton BMV to pay for it, because at that point I couldn't pay my fine any place other than certain BMVs, and I was in between Canton and Youngstown, and where I grew up, I was almost directly in the middle. So just pick my poison. I chose Canton, and going there for the first time, and then when you miss your street, and then you have to go that one way stuff of all right, now how do I get back to that road that I was on? And this was 2006, and there might have been GPSs, but I didn't have one. I think I had Yahoo directions. So once I got lost, it was well, let's try to navigate this stuff. All right, I'm going to turn here. Nope, that's one way the other way. Fuck. Let me go down one road. And it's just a big old pain in the ass. I think I can handle it now, but I remember at that time, God, did that suck.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not familiar with the area, it can be extremely confusing. Like I said, I try to stay out of downtown as much as I can. But back in April, I had to do my Serve Safe classes, and they were doing those downtown. And dude, every single day, I cuss a lot, but I have never cussed as much as what I did that week that I was going downtown for classes. Dude, I fucking hate it so bad. I hate being in Canton proper. I fucking hate it so much.
Yeah, I think that's why I kind of stayed away from it for a while. I do love fucking North Canton, though. North Canton, once I discovered that and all the entertainment opportunities or places to eat that, literally Tinseltown Movie Theater is my favorite movie theater. I will, depending on the movie, I will choose it over my local Cinemark, and that's literally within Cuyahoga Falls.
That's actually where Kurt's working at right now. He's got a few days during the week that he's a popcorn bitch at Tinseltown. And he told me, he was like, I mostly just took the job mostly just so I could watch movies for free. I'm like, dude, I get it, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if you go down there, there's a pretty good chance that he'll be the one that gets you your popcorn.
I'll have to remember that next time I go there. It's been a little while. I think whatever movie I seen before Ghostbusters. I want to say it was the Eternals. I think that was the last movie I seen there.
I think the last God. I think the last movie that I saw at Tinseltown was with my dad, and it was The Passion of the Christ.
Good God, that was a long time ago.
Oh God. I've only went to the theater probably a couple times since then, but it wasn't Tinseltown.
Well, they serve alcohol now.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard they got some fancy ass seats now too.
Oh God, yeah, that's one thing that's something that kind of happened almost all across the board at movie theaters, except for like the Cinemark by me. Like, what was it, about a year before they started doing that? They built it. They built this one by me. So they were definitely not like, well, we just built this theater. We're not putting in these new fancy reclining leather seats. Like, you're going to stick with what you got because, we just paid for this shit. So they're still on those seats, but God, I love those reclining seats because I've seen those I think some Regals have it. I've seen some smaller movie theaters have it. It's genuinely like, it's the way to go.
Yeah, there's a theater in Massillon, and I went there probably 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. Most recently was like probably 3 years ago with my ex-wife, and I honestly can't even tell you what movie we went to watch. I'm with Ed, man. Movies are long.
Yeah, but so are wrestling shows.
Yeah, but I mean, Summers, have you hung out with me at a wrestling show? Like, how much am I actually paying attention?
No, we've not hung out at a show because normally I'm front row.
Yeah, you're usually front row, and I'm usually standing somewhere closer to the bar with a drink in my hand. And I like look up enough to yell, "Do a fucking murder, Kaplan!"
And
Smoking Jay's sponsored athletes, Bitcoin boys, or thumbs up for Bishop. That's like, those. That's when I'm paying attention to the show.
Yeah, at least it's not like AIW like 10 years ago. Like when I first started coming, those shows are fucking long. And I remember, actually, even recent memory, I used to like work a first shift job, come straight to the venue, and be there the whole show. And like towards the end of the show, I'd be like yawning, like I'm fucking tired. Fuck, and there's still like 3 matches to go. Son of a bitch.
I remember it was I can't remember what Mount Carmel show it was, but there was a Mount Carmel show that I think it was almost 1 o'clock in the morning that we were like walking out to the parking lot to leave. It was those Mount Carmel shows ran really late.
It might have been, I want to say it might have been a Hell on Earth. There was one Hell on Earth where Vic Joseph messaged me and asked me if AIW was still going on. And I was like, yeah. And like, it was like close to midnight. And this is before he went to WWE, but still it was like one of those times where like AIW ran super fucking long. And yeah, I know they were still doing it at Mount Carmel. They obviously always did it, almost always did it during Turner's Hall. Luckily now we got it down to like a nice like 3-hour show. Yeah.
Well, I want to say that there was a gauntlet. It might have been the gauntlet that Prohibition won. So whatever number that was, it was like almost midnight whenever the gauntlet was starting. And Kurt just looked at me and he's like, dude, I'm dying. And at that time I lived almost 2 hours away. So I still had to take him home, and he lived in Massillon. So I was like 45 minutes away from his house in Massillon. So I was like, fuck it, dude, let's just go. And so like we left right as the gauntlet was starting, but it was almost midnight whenever we left.
You know what? Maybe it was a gauntlet because I knew there was some big match that we had to wait on. For some reason, I thought it was Hell on Earth because a lot of Hell on Earths have ran long, but it might have been a gauntlet because the gauntlet hadn't happened yet. And that has, that's obviously going to be like close to an hour.
Right. And I'm fine with wrestling shows running long because I like hanging out with, that's whenever I get to hang out with my friends. So I'm cool with wrestling shows running long because that's more time that I get to hang out. But yeah, so there's some times where I just get real tired, and living in North Canton, I still have an hour drive to get back. I know there's a lot of people that come down from further. Like you got Orange coming down from New York and shit. But I'm an old man. I get real tired easy.
But I think with Orange, like most of the time, he's not going back right after the show. Like I know he did this past one, but most of the time, like I believe he stays the night and then leaves. I could be wrong.
Hey, because I think he usually goes to the after parties too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do the after parties. I went to one at Good Company once, and then might have been, I think it was the Danhausen show. I got too fucked up, and I didn't go to the after party, but Dustin Alberti let me stay over at his house, and there was like a whole bunch of people that was over at his house for a while. So that's like the extent of my hanging out and partying after a show.
Yeah, I've done it here and there, but you see, I think I did Good Company like maybe twice, and then I just did the dive bar the first time they did it, and I'll probably never go back. And it's nothing against them. It's just more or less, if I park at the venue, I'm then going to walk to the dive bar, and like walking up that huge ass hill doesn't necessarily work for my fat ass. Like,
yeah, I get it.
I got like towards the top of that thing. Like I'm like sweating. I'm fucking, I don't want to say I was fully out of breath, but still like a fucking work. I think like my legs were fucking burning. Luckily, like when I left, like going back down wasn't a big of an issue, but still like, I don't know, like I've never been a bar person. Like even locally, like the many times that I've gone out to a bar in my drinking experience, which is like almost 15 years, is like under 10 times. Like going out like at night, like granted, like I do the Brownsbacker stuff and we were at a bar, but I won't count that the same as like going out, going bar hopping and everything and drinking. I'm like, that's just too much for me.
I understand. I don't really drink too much anymore. Whenever I drink, it's because my mental health is fucked up and I'm just trying to like not feel anything. But whenever I was drinking regularly and I was out at the bar, I always had to be at a bar that like I knew enough people at, because if I go into a place and I don't know people, I get really anxious and like I don't do well. So I pretty much go into the bar that my sister-in-law was the bartender at, and then I would just get stupid fucked up there with her.
Yeah, that I don't know. And I've had so many friends that love doing like going out to bars and everything that I'm just like, no, why would I want to go out? Like they're crowded. Like alcohol is like so expensive. Like, and I'm comparing that to at home prices. It's like I can buy a 6-pack and drink it for a lot cheaper than, going out to a bar. I'd always rather a bunch of friends get a bunch of money together. We buy whatever alcohol we want and go to someone's house or whatever. But I haven't done that in years.
Yeah, I started smoking weed and then I just kind of quit drinking. But I don't know. I don't know. My thing with alcohol is I don't know, pretty deep. Like I was not in a good place and I needed to quit drinking anyways, and I didn't know how to tell myself that I had enough, and if I was drinking I was going to black out. So I had to take a break from drinking for a long time until I could kind of get that under control for myself.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for me, like I can't smoke weed. Like it's either drinking or nothing. Luckily,
is that just because of your job or just because you don't want to smoke weed?
Like it's mostly my job. Because like the funny thing with me, which I don't know if I've ever like told this to anybody, I do. People do think like I don't drink and I don't do any drugs. But it's like no, like I just don't.
I mean, I know you drink a little bit, but it's not often. And then you've told me before that like you smoked weed whenever you were younger.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, 8th grade going into my freshman year, I smoked weed for the first time. And then like if I was ever around anybody, like because I grew up in a trailer park, like if they smoked, I ended up smoking. Sometimes I would buy my own stuff and share, but like it was definitely rare. Then I had one point when I was still a teenager, like later on, like maybe 17 to 18 or 18 to 19, I went a full year without smoking it to prove to all my friends who would go on like 6 months probation and couldn't fucking handle it. I'm like, I'm going to go a full year without smoking any weed. And then because I went from birthday to birthday, that last birthday, like I smoked with everybody because I basically said, I'm going this whole year without it. Get to me after my birthday. And like, I got hit up a lot. Then, like it was just here and there. I wasn't like smoking it a lot. When I got into my 20s, I started dating my ex and she didn't smoke weed at all. Didn't smoke anything. At that point, she didn't drink. I was told like after our relationship, she did end up drinking a little bit, but still like she was super fucking sober. So I didn't smoke weed. And then in the middle of that relationship is when I started becoming a truck driver, and then I'm not allowed to smoke weed. I don't miss like smoking per se, but I never got to try edibles. And I see a lot of people, I got friends that, you know, either they go out and buy them legally or they make them. And it's like, I would like to try that, but I can't.
Dude, those edibles that Kyle brought, whenever I met him back in, I think, August, holy shit, those space cakes were so good. I don't know if he listens, but Kyle, if you listen, those space cakes were fucking amazing, dude.
I know Bill Taylor had one before AIW, this last show, because I was with him when he was walking in. I was like, well, me and Kyle were walking together, and there was Bill, and he gave Bill one. I guess I didn't realize till looking on Twitter, like Bill left like early in the show because it started fucking hitting him. Fuck.
Well, so might have been, I want to say it was one of the April shows. Trombetta comes up and says hi to me, and then like walks away, and then walks back up and hands me a piece of space cake. And so I want to say that was one of the April shows. And then at the Danhausen show, I actually got to meet Kyle, and he handed me a cookie, and I ate the whole thing probably like a dumbass. Plus, I had already smoked on my way up there, and then like as I'm eating this fucking cookie, you know, the parking lot crew is out there just passing shit around like we do. I was so fucked up for that entire show, and then my dumbass on top of it started drinking like crazy because I was drinking Tito's and Sprite, double Tito and Sprite all night. Plus, like every single time I would turn around and I would see Dalton with an empty cup, like him or V, I would look at him like, "You guys need another drink?" I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, all right." So I'm buying drinks for, you know, me, Dalton, and V the whole night. I think all three of us were pretty fucked up. That was fun. Good times.
I don't know if I'm allowed to tell this story, but Halloween.
Yeah, you're allowed to tell it.
Oh, no, because it doesn't have to do with me. It has to do with someone else in my house here. And that really narrows it down when the other three are pets.
I definitely want to hear the story.
My now wife, a week before our wedding, we went to a Halloween party at one of my friend's house. And, you know, they all smoke weed and all that kind of stuff. And my one friend's wife made pop brownies. Well, she's used to everybody else's tolerance. Like her husband and all them, like they smoke a lot of weed. Amanda doesn't. Amanda had 2. And when I tell this to people, because I said to somebody, and they're like, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "Yeah, you can. It's just not the same consequence." She overdosed. So no, she didn't die, obviously, but it fucked with her so bad.
Oh yeah.
And I was the sober one that had to deal with it. That's all I'm going to say.
I bet that was fun for you.
Oh, horrible. Being the sober one of the two. And like, sometimes she would say stuff to me where I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, that makes no fucking sense.
I made a bunch. I used to have a party for WrestleMania every year. And one of the last ones that I did, I made a shit ton of cookies and like muffins and brownies. And I made sure that everybody was very well aware that every single one of those desserts had weed in it. And everybody ate those things like they were just regular cookies or, you know, regular brownies, whatever. And the show finally started, you know, like the show starts and everybody except for me and one other person was passed out. And, you know, WrestleMania is fucking 7 hours long. So no joke, dude. As soon as that final bell rang, that the match was over, Kurt opens his eyes and looks around and goes, "Well, that show fucking sucked." And I just looked at him and was like, "Kurt, you just got a full night's sleep during this. What the fuck are you talking about? You didn't even watch the pre-show." Dude, they were all fucking out of it, man. It was so good. I didn't make any more edibles for any more of the WrestleMania parties after that.
Yeah, so I think after I retire or get out of trucking, I'm hoping it's retire. I hope I don't have to change fucking industries, but that's when I'll do it. Because there is one thing that like happened recently, and it just kind of goes to show you of like, this can't happen. My wife's uncle works for the same company I do. We're on like different accounts. He ended up getting a random, and this motherfucker like parties and shit all the time at his place, and like he smokes weed. Well, he got popped for it and got fired. So like it's like that, those things that I got to worry about, and I've looked at it for ever since I got into it. Like I can do that when I retire. Yeah,
it gives you something to look forward to, right?
Yeah, like I would love to be able to try edibles, but if I get a random very quick after that, like that edible isn't worth my career and all that kind of shit, especially when student loans repayments about to pop back up and I'm going to have to start paying my loans again. Like,
yeah,
fucking, it sucks.
Yeah, I haven't had a job that drug tested, probably in the last 10 years. Every job that I've had, I've been able to smoke weed. And for the most part, I would say most of the jobs that I've had have known that I smoked weed. The hotel, I think they probably knew, but I did a good enough job that they just, they promoted me to management, never asked any questions about it. So I just, I didn't talk about it. I wasn't as open about it as what I am now. And I'm still, like, my parents still don't know that I smoke. But mostly because my dad's a preacher and I know my parents would be a little upset. So I just don't tell them. But, yeah, I mean, most people that know me know that I'm a stoner, and most people that have ever met me, at least in the last 10 years, you probably didn't meet me sober. So, I mean, my motto for the last 10 years has been never let them see you sober. So I'm always high. I smoked right before I got on this call with you.
So that explains all the technical issues.
Yeah. No, I just suck with technology and couldn't figure out how to record in Discord. I'm sorry.
I don't think that's your fault. I think it's just one of those, just how shit works. Like I've talked about before, like I've had different issues with some other services and I'm trying to still iron them out, but I might wait until I upgrade my setup, because I don't know if I've talked about this on the show before. I need to upgrade to an actual computer. Like I'm on a laptop, like a laptop that I got in literally tax time 2014. And it's starting to get really behind on a lot of stuff of just being so old. And like when I bought the laptop at the time, like I didn't have an office. I was using it in my ex's living room, like where we lived. And then obviously I took it over the road. So like a laptop made sense. Now I'm to a point where my laptop doesn't leave this room. Like everything stays plugged in. It's like, okay, now it makes more sense. I need a desktop and I need to get a lot of top of the line shit. Like necessarily like a sound card and everything. I just need like really good memory and everything so I could run a lot of my shit. I probably cut so much down in editing. So that's kind of like one of my goals for next year. I need to find a way to get an actual desktop and have a better setup for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, man. My Mac, I don't even know how old this thing is. But yeah, it's fucking old. I need to upgrade. And I think that's honestly probably why I couldn't even get the Discord app to download onto my computer, is just because of how old it is. I definitely need to upgrade, because I'm starting to do so much more stuff with video that like this thing just isn't cutting it. Like any like editing and stuff that I do, I pretty much have to do on my iPad. I can't even fuck with it on my Mac.
Yeah, damn, that sucks.
And that's another thing too. So, like I said, my dad is a preacher. For those that don't know, I lead worship at my dad's church every Sunday. And then on top of it, I'm like in charge of all the audio and video shit. So I had somebody, they made put a video together and then brought it into me, and they were like, your dad wants us to play before he preaches or something. And I was like, oh, okay. Can you send it to me? And they were like, oh, I thought maybe you could help me with that. And I just looked at them, and then I looked at the video, and all they did was just put it together in iMovie and save it. Like, they hadn't even exported it, and so they're sitting there for the entire service trying to just waiting for, for the file to condense so that they could even send it to me. Just you guys need to stop looking at me like I'm some tech genius. I don't know any of this shit. And we just upgraded our cameras. We went from a one camera, streaming with one camera to now I have fucking 3 angles. I have 3 cameras that are running, and I've had to watch so many videos just so I could get this stuff working. And today was the first Sunday that I've been able to do a live stream without any interruptions, and where it actually went flawless.
Yeah, I'm like a borderline tech person. Like, there's things that I can figure out and all that kind of stuff. But when you get to certain video stuff and all that kind of stuff, I'm just clueless. It's half of the reason why there's no video version of this podcast. And I know a lot of people are going to that, but I'm like, let's go back to the fact that my laptop is from 2014 and I do not have an external webcam. So I have the built-in one. Oh, it is fucking awful. It is god awful. It's, you're basically talking early iPhone kind of look. It's just bad.
I mean, I don't know that a video podcaster. I mean, I probably still wouldn't be considered a podcast at that point, but I don't think that a video podcast is really necessary. I mean, doing just audio is fine.
That is the way I am, but there are I don't know. It's just one of those things of being a podcaster of, okay, a lot of people are doing video format. And is that worth it? Are there people that want to see more video? I mean, I'm fine with audio stuff. I can make audio sound really good, or at least, decent, especially for what I'm using. But yeah, at least I can use the webcam as my excuse of yeah, that's why I don't use it. That and the internet I have here is, we only had one option. It was you have this speed or nothing. And luckily it's a decent speed. It's actually faster than the place that I was at before this. But still, it's not well, you can get this slow one, this medium one, this fast one, this really fast one. No, it was just this is it.
I mean, I think if you're going to add video in, I feel like that's something that you wait until you start making money off the podcast to start adding that in. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't know, just all the extra work and the extra equipment and shit that you would have to buy for it. It just doesn't make it that much sense to do it if you're not making any money off the podcast, just doing it audio. Yeah. So yeah, more work. You don't need it. You're already busy enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily I've never seriously looked into it, because it's just if it came to a part where we needed it, maybe that would be good for certain in-person interviews, but I think for the weekly stuff we do, and not to mention there are silences that I take out of the show, and having to sync that in video would be a pain in the ass.
Oh, 100%, man. And I think maybe doing a video whenever you're doing an in-person interview is a good idea. But yeah, for the weekly podcast, I don't think that's something that you really need to do. And especially whenever you're going to have me on, because if you're going to have me on and it's video, then I got to try to look pretty, and I can't just sit here I'm wrapped up in a fucking Ohio State blanket right now. I wouldn't be able to look like shit if this was on video.
Yeah, I couldn't do the podcast with Pam being at work anymore. Because she would have to be on camera at the same time and doing her job. So I can understand that could be a huge pain in the ass and liability. But
hey, and props to Pam for that podcast too, because I know how difficult it is just to try to work in a kitchen and talk to whoever is beside me. So trying to record a podcast while I was in the kitchen working would, God, that'd be fucking miserable.
All right, let's get into some of the questions for you. And I forgot, like this time we actually have one social media question. Let's get in that one first. Got a tweet from Zachary Blackburn at ZT Blackburn. He said he can't call, but first question is a favorite barbecue memory.
I mean, honestly, a lot of the early barbecue times for me, barbecue for me, it really started out as very therapeutic. Back in 2013, I was working on my car and it caught on fire while I was laying underneath of it. And I was life flighted to the hospital, spent 13 days in the Akron burn unit, and just pretty much stopped doing anything that dealt with fire. So whenever I started doing barbecue again, it was to help get over that PTSD. And so it was like very therapeutic. But as far as like most memorable, it would probably have to be the first AIW show that I did, which was Wrestle Rager 3. And that, honestly, you know, I've said it before I'm pretty sure on your show that if it wasn't for AIW, I don't feel like I would really have a business. Because, you know, doing all those tailgates and stuff, that helped to kind of get you guys to know who I was. But John really gave me that first opportunity for people to actually pay for my food. And, you know, it was a sponsorship deal. I didn't make any money off of it, but to watch people willingly hand Jim money for one of my pulled pork sandwiches and, you know, willingly hand money for my mac and cheese and then get a compliment off of it after they actually paid for it. That's kind of one of those times that I think really sticks out to me.
I think one thing that I do love about this community, whether it be you would call it AIW or whatnot, of being able to support people. And like I remember that Wrestle Rager. To me, that is like the most fun Wrestle Rager. Well, in between that one and I do love the first one at that venue because we had all those like random people. Like we had like the window guy and all that kind of stuff. But that one, when it got to be expanded to have your food there, like it felt special. And I mean, now too, like that's the last Wrestle Rager at that venue.
Yeah, and that was Wrestle Rager 4. Sorry, the one with Raven.
Third one at the venue, though. That's the crazy thing, that there was the original 3-day Wrestle Rager, and that was at Turner's Hall. And then years later, we started the one at Now That's Class. Yeah,
and I mean, dude, Now That's Class. That was just such a special place. Like the atmosphere for a wrestling show at those was just so much fun, dude.
I love that whenever we talk about those shows, it was like, or those years, it was like, which show did you like better, Absolution or Wrestle Rager? Because they were both like these parties, but they were like different feels, kind of of a party.
Well, yeah, I mean, Absolution is like, you know, that's your real wrestling show where the stories that have been going are going to kind of, you know, come to an end and, you know, new stories are going to begin. And then Wrestle Rager is the day that everybody goes out and they just don't give a fuck. And there's still the stories, for certain things, but it's more of a just free for all fucking, let's bring some chaos and, you know, let's have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just two completely different shows. It's one of those things where you can't even, I really don't even feel like you can compare Absolution and Wrestle Rager, like, you know, like have them try to have them in the same type of conversation.
Mm. I think the only reason why I put them in the conversation is like, those are easily the best two shows of the year for one reason or another. And it's going to depend on which version you like more will be the one you put on that number one spot. Because also too, like with Wrestle Rager, that's always like the end of the summer. Like we're talking the weekend before Labor Day weekend. So like we're ending summer with this huge party every year.
It's the last party of the summer. Yeah, I love Wrestle Rager. I'm sad I had to miss it this year. But I just, I love the chaos of it.
Mm-hmm. There was a little bit added chaos this year because a new venue, different feel. I don't think anything's going to duplicate Now That's Class. Like this one's was okay with it, but like it's still like, I mean, the fact that it's in this, like Now That's Class was in this kind of like fenced in backyard, and it felt like a genuine backyard show.
Remember whenever Sabu got mad because he thought that it was a backyard show?
Yes, I do.
The starchy vegetable had to try to calm him down. Say, no, like this is a legit thing. We run monthly.
Starchy vegetable. I see what you did there.
If you know, you know.
Zach also asked, when is Derrick Dillinger getting his own sandwich? Maybe something open face with some neon relish.
I love Derrick. So I started doing those. If you were at the show at Jefferson, the Ashtabula show, there was that food truck, the Sloppy Toppy food truck.
Yes,
and we all got such a kick out of it. So I mean, maybe especially if you're doing relish on something, so we started doing our version of what we call a sloppy toppy, and hot dog top stuff. So I could probably come up with like an Ace Degenerate sloppy toppy. I don't know. Maybe Derrick, if you're listening, hit me up if you have any good ideas. And I'll add Derrick to the menu. I love Derrick.
For the most part, I think Derrick listens, so he will probably hit you up with a response.
Cool. Yeah. I love Derrick. He's especially he's one of those that coming out of the pandemic really grew. I felt like whenever it was the production, with Magnum and Frankie and Eddie and Danhausen, Derrick kind of got pushed to the back a little bit more, and coming out of the pandemic, watching the growth that he's had has just been amazing. And, I love the name change going, to Derrick Dillinger, and I'm on the Derrick Dillinger train, with Jay Gold. So yeah, Derrick, let's get you a sandwich on the menu.
I definitely love this version of the production. I think I've liked every version, and it's like every tweak like makes sense and is so much fun. And like going back from to the very, very beginning of it. And now when it's down to just two, Derrick and Ziggy, I love them both.
I wouldn't mind seeing like a full faction again, but I think that Derrick really needs to be the forefront of it. Yeah. So, I mean, you look at it, there's 3 championships, not including that Haas division. There's 3 championships in AIW. So if you have, somebody that can go after that absolute championship, and then somebody that can go after that intense, and then, a tag team in there, I think that having that form of the production with Derrick really being, the outspoken leader, because I know he says, hasn't he always been the leader of the production, but in the eyes of a lot of us, whenever that first started, Frankie was supposed to be the one that was leading it. Mm-hmm. So having Derrick as really the forefront of the production with the full group, I think that would be really interesting. I don't know who you'd put there, because it has to make sense. Mm-hmm. But I mean, seeing him as a leader, I think that would be really cool.
It would definitely have to fit in with the Ziggy and Derrick dynamic right now. So I think that's why I prefer it being just the two. But I don't know. I think if you were going to add somebody else, maybe it would have to be somebody from the outside. I don't know if there's anybody in AIW right now regularly that would fit. So
yeah, the only person that really kind of comes to my mind, and I can't even remember his name, honestly, but isn't there, not Atticus, but isn't there another Kogar?
Otis.
Okay. Like, I've never actually seen Otis wrestle, but just basing off of what I see, gimmick wise, I think that him, he almost has like a little bit of a horror type of character. So I think that like somebody like him going in with the production might be good. I don't know. Yeah, it's got to be a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
It has to make sense, and the characters have to kind of all align.
All right, we got a few phone calls, so let's get into them. First, we're going to start off with Reese.
Hey guys, this is Reese calling a little bit under the wire here, but I saw that you, Justin, had Mr. Smoke and J Barbecue Brock himself on the show, so I decided to pop in with just 2 questions really quick. First off, are there any foods that you absolutely hated as kids, but as time has passed and your taste buds have flourished that you have fallen in love with? Like, for example, when I was a kid, I did not think sauerkraut and horseradish would be a part of my diet, but then I discovered the Reuben, and I'm a kraut man through and through now. And secondly, who is your favorite Weekend Update anchor from Saturday Night Live? And I'm going to cheat here with 4, but my top 4 are Kevin Nealon, Norm Macdonald, and specifically Amy Poehler with Tina Fey. That was my anchor team growing up watching it. I mean, yeah, I saw Tina Fey and Jimmy Fallon too, but I don't want to talk about Jimmy Fallon. Anyway, curious to hear what you guys have to say. Much love to you, Justin. Much love to you, Brock. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay hydrated. Hope to see y'all at a show very soon. Peace.
All right. Thanks, Reese, for that one. What was a food you hated as a kid but enjoy now?
I don't know. So he said, what's a food that you love now? I can't say that I love it now, but I was not a big fan of mushrooms whenever I was younger, and now I do enjoy them, especially with a lot of with us trying to do a lot more meat substitute. One of the things that I did was I smoked mushrooms and made like a vegan Philly out of them. And, dude, smoked mushrooms are so fucking good. So that's probably the thing from my childhood that I didn't like that I do enjoy now.
I've always loved mushrooms, especially like on pizza. And then I will suggest to anybody, if you like mushrooms on pizza, try a pizza from Ohio Pie Company, because our normal pizza order is pepperoni and mushrooms. And we decided to try that one. I think we had already tried a couple of the specialty pizzas. We're like, well, let's try what we normally get from everywhere. So we try that, and those mushrooms were literally the best mushrooms I've ever had on a pizza. Like, I do not know how to describe it other than that.
I mean, mushrooms on pizza is good too. I haven't got to have Ohio Pie Co., so I'm a little upset because I hear everybody always talk about it, but it's so far away from me that I don't get it.
I get that because I was very much the same way, but when I started working in Strongsville, like, it's only like maybe 5 miles or so from where I work, and it's almost a straight shot. Like, after I get off the road that my work is off of, it's just, I turn right and I go. There's a lot of lights and everything to where it takes longer than it would going like on the highway, but still, like, I did not try it until then. They make great pizza and they make great cookies. Like, I really don't know which one they do better. That's the only way I describe it. The only thing is, like, I was probably like you, of like, every time you're in Cleveland, like, you're doing other things, eating other places, to where it wouldn't make sense to, stop in there to grab stuff.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I'm up in the Cleveland area, it's usually either for AIW or because I'm building a car wash somewhere up there. And whenever I'm like, doing my real job, I have to go to lunch with, the other guys and kind of wherever they want to go. And if it's not a fucking bacon cheeseburger, then I'm probably not going to go and get to go and eat at that place. Because the guys I work with are just like fucking trash mouths. They want their burgers and their fried food all the time. And, I got them to go to Heart of Gold one day, and that was interesting. me and my one friend really loved the food. The other guys were a little more unsure.
I bet I was just there before the AIW show, and looking at their menu, I could see where that was going to be kind of an issue.
Well, so no offense to rednecks, but two of the guys that I was working with, they're a little hillbilly, and the one was looking at the menu. He goes, "Ooh, mushroom meatloaf! I fucking love meatloaf." So that's what he got, and then he bit into it, and he was like, "This isn't meatloaf." And I looked at the menu and saw a V. Beside a vegan or beside the mushroom meatloaf, and I went, "Damn, there's no meat in it. It's vegan, man. Like, it's the mushrooms are the substitute." And he was like, "Oh man," he ate the fries. But I'm sorry, Jonah. Not like you listen, anyways. But he was not big on the mushroom meatloaf.
I went there. I had the wings. I was in between, like, there was like a garlic one and lemon pepper, and it was a dry rub, and I was like, let me try this other dry rub, lemon pepper. It was very lemony and very peppery. Like, I didn't necessarily hate it. It was more or less how I am with dry rubs, and I kind of wish I would have went with the other one, but still, like, I hate it all. I still recommend anybody to go. I still want to try wet lemon pepper. That fucking AC Mac just told me so much about that. It's huge down in Atlanta.
I'm not real big on lemon pepper stuff. Like, I like it, but not huge.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan.
And then when I went there too, like, I had ate a little bit earlier in the day. Like, when I woke up, because I knew, like, I just couldn't go the whole day without, like, waiting till I got there to eat something. And I might have ate like a little bit too much, where I was like, well, I'm going to need to eat something to last me through the show. So I'm like, I got to eat something small. And that's what I ended up picking wings. Like, but like, I think if I had more time, I would have tried the burger and a couple other things. But I was going like more on the smaller side.
Yeah, I had the smash burger whenever I was at Heart of Gold, and it was so fucking good, man. So good. I sent Jonah a text after we left and told him how good it was too.
The second question is, what's your favorite Weekend Update anchors on SNL?
100% Norm Macdonald. I can't even think of any of the other ones. I haven't watched SNL in a real long time either, so I'm more like nostalgic for the shit from the 90s, because I'm a huge Chris Farley fan. Mm-hmm. So Norm Macdonald kind of fits into that whole Chris Farley, Adam Sandler kind of crew.
I like a lot of them, but I wasn't watching SNL regularly at that time. Like, if I was seeing anything, it was like replays a couple years later and all that kind of stuff. For me, though, I love Seth Meyers and Cecily Strong. Those are two of my favorites. I really liked it when Seth was solo. Like, some of his jokes or everything was just, he was a guy who was able to do it alone, and they hadn't done that in a little while. Cecily Strong stepped in with him, and then like when he left, I think she might have been the Weekend Update anchor for a year before they switched it over to Colin Jost and God, what's the other guy's name? Michael Shea. And like when also, like, I know he didn't ask, but add in not as an anchor, but people that were able to come on and be funny. I add in also Cecily Strong because she had one of my favorite characters, the girl at the party that you wish you didn't start a conversation with. If you look that up on YouTube, I think she's fucking hilarious as that. And of course, Bill Hader as Stefan. Like, hands down, like every time that he would do that character, I thought it was gold. I
do remember some of those Bill Hader skits. Yeah. He was good whenever he would come on there too.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks, Reese. Let's move on to Dalton.
Hey, Justin. Hey, Brock. This is Dalton. I understand Brock's going to be on the show today, and just, I saw his name pop up, and I had a few questions. Whenever I went to visit Ohio for an AIW show, we got to talk, and we got to talk about music and stuff like that, and you had mentioned that you were in a band and that you opened up for the Chariot before, and I thought that was pretty cool. It's pretty neat. It's pretty rad. And I was like, damn, I wonder who else he's opened for. So if you could give me nothing long, nothing major, just give me a top 3 Brock's favorite bands that Brock's favorite bands that he's performed with or played a show with or did anything like that. And, you know, it's pretty sweet to hear. Love you. Wait, no, that's not right. Wrong show. Bye.
Thanks, Dalton. Yeah, this one's more for you than anything.
Yeah. So I mean, for those of you that don't know, I toured. I graduated high school in 2007 and took off with my band, and I played out on the road until 2011. I decided to quit touring. I signed a record contract whenever I was 19. I mean, I've been all over the place. I've played some really cool shows. I guess my top three, The Chariot, definitely. That's definitely a top three. I got to play with those guys a few times, and every single time I got to play with them, every single time was awesome. They're like a chaotic hardcore band, but I don't know how they could be so chaotic and still so in time together. It was just so fucking amazing. Norma Jean is another band that's up there on that list for me. I got to open up for them the first time on my birthday. And then it was like a week later, my band signed, like a couple months later, my band signed with our label. And that was one of those shows that helped kind of solidify things for our label with us, too, to make them want to sign us. But I got to play with them a couple of times, and they're another band, so tight. They play so well together. Everything is just on. And then My Children, My Bride is another one. I got to play with those guys a lot. Became pretty decent friends with them. So, I mean, anytime I got to see those guys, it was fun. And then an honorable mention, I know you said top three, so an honorable mention is going to be Aaron Gillespie, formerly of Under Oath and The Almost. I got to play with him. He did an acoustic set like the week after he made the announcement that he was leaving Under Oath. And there was a station that was doing an interview with him in the green room. And me and our bass player were in there just kind of hanging out. And Aaron was making the host a sandwich with just like everything that was, like there for catering. It was just like, deli trays and shit, nothing too insane. But he was just taking like everything that was on the table and putting it on the sandwich. And he made the host try it, and he was talking about how terrible it tasted. And Aaron was like, I don't think it's really that bad. And he turns around and he sees me and he goes, "Hey, you come over here." And so I had to go over and take a bite of his sandwich. And then I lied to him and told him that it wasn't that bad, even though it really was absolutely disgusting.
I have no idea who any of those people are.
All hardcore bands. They were all hardcore bands, Justin.
I think I've heard of Under Oath, but I couldn't tell you a damn thing about them.
Under Oath is probably the most popular of those bands that I just mentioned. And all of them were Christian hardcore bands. I played Christian metal. I was the vocalist in a Christian death metal band for a little bit, and then I played drums in a Christian hardcore band. So yeah, they were all Christian bands that I played with.
Only Christian band I really liked was POD.
POD was cool. I never got to play with them, but I met a couple of the guys from POD. We were on a festival together, but there was so many stages that I don't feel comfortable saying that I like played with them.
Yeah. When they first like hit big with fundamental elements of the Southtown, very first video, because actually I first saw it on WWE. It was fucking WWE Heat, because at one point they were like doing like music videos like towards the end of the episode, and then I think putting in wrestling from that week or something maybe. And I was like, ooh, who are these guys? And then like when I got to school, like a friend of mine was really into them too, or got really into them for some other reason. Like we both heard Southtown, and we fucking fell in love with them. And then I remember they had one hit off that album, like Start the Party or something like that. But I know like the next album, Satellite, when Alive came out, they got huge. That's when they really fucking got huge.
Yeah, that was whenever they blew up.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like wrestling kind of introduced people to a lot of really good bands. And POD was one of them. Creed wasn't one of them, but Scott Stapp went to college with my old youth pastor and lived in the dorm right across the hall. And it was a Christian college, and Scott got kicked out for doing drugs, and then would like sneak back into the dorms.
Don't let certain people on wrestling Twitter hear you say that, because there's a lot of people out there that love fucking Creed.
Yeah, sure. They were a band. They did stuff.
They had one song that I really liked, and that was now I'm blanking on the fucking name. It's not one of to me. It's not one of their huge hits. Fuck, now I'm gonna have to look it up. It was off the Scream soundtrack. I know that. That's not where I heard of it, but I know like the video for it has like Scream stuff in it.
I mean, I thought Creed was good before I knew what music was.
If it's the one that I think I actually had it in my head, but I have a really bad habit of like, I think I know something, but then I like go look it up and I'm like, oh no, that's not what it was. Or I'll go look it up and I'll just be wrong. Yeah, it's What If.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that song.
I think I liked it because it's like heavier than all the other hits.
The song that I remember the most from Creed, it's 100% just because of the WWF vignettes that got played, was My Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I anytime I hear that song, like if for whatever reason, if I'm listening to the radio and it comes on, I still think of that Hardy Boys vignette that they played with My Sacrifice.
The thing is, too, it has been like, it was used on many different things.
Yeah, it was, but the Hardy Boys vignette is the one that always comes to my mind.
I think the thing too is I think they've made like fake music, or people have made fake music videos with that to where it seems like it fit in that era, but I can't remember.
Creed was the 90s version of Nickelback.
Oh yeah.
Creed walked so that Nickelback could run.
Yeah. And most people I know that like Nickelback liked Creed too.
They all have shitty taste in music.
Though I will say this about Nickelback. They have one song that I really like, and it's oddly enough the one that they use for Raw. Everything else for theirs I couldn't stand, even before they made it the Raw theme. It wasn't just like, oh, WWE's, I liked it. Like, no, I heard it and I was like, oh, this is actually like pretty good for Nickelback. Like everything else they've ever done, I could never get into. This one I really liked. And then when WWE's, I was like, well, there I go. Now I get to hear it every week. But
wait,
yeah,
what song did WWE use from Nickelback for Raw?
Okay, no,
I don't have any memory of this.
Now I have to look it up.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
I think it's the only Nickelback song I have on my phone. I don't know if I have two. Oh, because they did a really good cover of "Devil Went Down to Georgia." Okay, I was like, why do I have to have another one?
That's fucking random.
Oh yeah, and it came out last year too.
Oh god.
Burn It to the Ground.
Oh yeah, I don't even remember that one.
We're talking like 2008. Like that's when the album came out. Late 2008.
All right, so that was like at a time that I wasn't really watching wrestling too much because I was on the road, and I'm pretty sure in 2008 I still had a flip phone too, so I wasn't watching shit on my phone while I was on tour. But yeah, so that explains why I don't remember that then.
All right, thanks, Dalton. Now get into the last call. Green button. It's Ed from Pod Van Dam.
Hey, this is Ed from Pod Van Dam, and I'm calling in because I just fixed the fish tank, and I have 2 questions for Brock Summers. If you also feel like answering them, go right ahead. I was gonna do a fuck, marry, kill, but I feel like let's lean it more towards Brock, and we'll do a smoke a blunt with, eat barbecue with, and murder between the Bitcoin boys and the Duke. So I want to know who you would eat a barbecue with, who you doing a fix in the fish tank with, and then who would you murder? And the second question is, you know when wrestlers shave their legs and like their bodies and everything, to like look good in their gear, do you think they stop where the gear stops, or do you think they shave their butthole? I'll take my answer off the air. Bye.
I didn't realize till now. I think Ed's asked that second part before.
Oh, that's not where I thought it was going, but holy shit. Oh, well, I mean, God damn, Ed. Okay.
Which one you want to start with?
Well, I don't know if they go all the way to their butthole, but I have heard from some wrestlers that wear kick pads that like they wear the kick pads and then the underwear trunks, that they only like shave their thighs and like that area. The rest of their leg they leave hairy. So if that's all they're shaving, I'm guessing they're not shaving their butthole. I don't know. What's your opinion on that one, Summers?
How many? My question is, how many people actually like shave their butthole? And then how many of that do you think is in wrestling?
I don't know. I've never asked anybody if they shaved their butthole before. Like, that's never been something that I've thought about. So,
for a guy who's asked that, I believe twice here on the show, they also have their own show, and they used to have wrestlers on all the time, and they never really asked that question.
Yeah. I mean, Ed, well, start doing some more interviews, and so you can ask that question on your show. I mean, I did send, Ed had a question for a certain wrestler, and that certain wrestler came down to my restaurant one day. And so I asked the question and videoed it because I think Ed was too afraid to ask him. So I asked and I videoed it, and then I sent it into the Discord so that Ed could see it. So maybe Ed just needs to sack up and start asking those questions himself.
Or they could have a thing where people start calling into Pod Van Dam, and then they bring up a wrestler, and they're like, "Do you think he shaved his?" Or they, because you can be anybody. Do you think they shaved their butthole?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That could be an entire segment on Pod Van Dam.
Do you think Arthur MacArthur shaves his butthole?
I don't know. He seems like he's a little hairy.
He seems hairy, but he his head is shaved too. So
yeah, but he usually still has like some stubble around his head. It doesn't seem like he goes like full razor,
Speaking of which, do you think Razor shaves his butthole?
I don't even want to think about this shit anymore, man. Fuck you, Ed. Asking these questions. Fuck, marry, kill.
Think Rhett Titus shaves his butthole? They really should have asked him that one.
They, with how they all feel about that interview, that you might as well have just done it. Oh man. So smoke a blunt with, eat barbecue with, and do a murder.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that one's pretty easy to choose, right?
We're all murdering Mikey, right?
Well, no.
No, why wouldn't you murder Mikey? He's going to be the easiest one to kill.
No. Maybe. I don't know. But you smoke a blunt with Mikey because he's the only one that smokes. You eat barbecue with Eric because he's the cool one. And then you do a murder on the Duke because whenever I asked him to do my taxes, he told me no.
Yeah, I kind of think that is the right order. And I'm just picturing Eric eating barbecue with milk.
He's probably going to get a root beer with his barbecue, but yeah, milk and barbecue. I don't know. Milk and olives doesn't really go together either, and he does that, so. Yeah, he probably would add milk with his barbecue. It's all right. I'll forgive him.
How do you feel about root beer?
I love root beer.
What's your favorite kind?
I'm not much of a soda drinker.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite root beer, right now, honestly, I would probably say Culver's. They just built a Culver's by me, and they make their own root beer, and it's really good. It's like really good for like an ice cream float also, but A&W I think is what Bree usually buys for the house, because like we're kind of the three of us that live here, none of us like really drink that much soda, but if we do, it's typically root beer. So there's like almost always a 12-pack of A&W in the fridge.
You about did the mistake that I've done recently where you say A&W and you want to say AIW.
Yeah, I've done that way too many times.
I've never had Culver's, so I'm going to have to put that on my list when I do go to try their root beer. For me, I'm a huge fan of A&W. I like around me there is more of the drive-in diner A&W. So like we used to have 3, now there's only 2. But like their root beer, supposedly they make there. It's not like they just have like regular 2 liter or whatever of A&W on tap. So
Right.
to me, that is like top tier. But then like if I'm going to like buy some, like I do like regular A&W, and alongside with it, I like Barks. Like for me, like that one, I grew up a lot on. Like that's like the first root beer I remember. But the one that I hate, like I used to love it. And then I think of having like A&W for so long and Barks where I cannot drink it. And that's Dad's root beer. I've heard people say that that's their favorite and they love it. And I don't know how. Like I've done for like a little substitute thing of you can get, flavor packets for water and they have an A&W one. It is really fucking good. Like if I had to like quit pop altogether, like I actually did that for a couple of years, but if I just quit it, didn't want to drink anymore at all, like that's one substitute I would have because to me, it's so close to the real thing. There's definitely a difference, but it's not like, oh, I can taste the huge difference. One time, or at some point, Giant Eagle that I go to, they stopped carrying A&W and they had Dad's root beer. And I'm like, oh, it's just flavor. Like an orange for one is pretty much the same for an orange for another. So I'm like, it should be the same thing. Nope, it wasn't. There was a clear difference. And then I was like, oh, that's weird. And then like after that, I tried Dad's root beer again. And to me, like it was that same like just disgusting taste. And it may be because I think A&W has a little bit of vanilla to the flavor. And I don't think Dad's or maybe some other ones don't, but I don't know. I can't drink that one anymore.
Whenever you were down here for the North Canton show, there was, it was pretty much like caddy corner to where AIW was set up.
Mm-hmm.
There was a booth that had root beer there. Did you have any of theirs?
I don't think I did. I did used to like going to the fair and getting birch beer, which I don't know if it's the exact same thing or whatever. Like I've seen at places like that where they don't advertise it as root beer, they advertise it as birch beer.
I wish I could remember what that place was called, but their root beer came out of a keg, and that was one of the best that I've had.
It might have been.
I wish I could remember what it was called.
It might have been something similar. I think for that day, I was more in the mood for lemonade, like the ones where they have lemon and sugar and they shake it. Like that, I remember. I think we got like 2 things of and drank.
The North Canton show, I started drinking at like 10 a.m. So, yeah.
Well, I had a wedding to go to that I didn't think I was going to actually make it to this show, but it was literally the wedding and the reception were at the same venue, and like that they had already done like some photos beforehand, so it was literally like, all right, now we're done, you can go eat. And I was like, holy shit, you just like ate up like an hour or so of like normal time, and I think we were there like maybe an hour and a half.
Oh hell yeah!
And since we had like we had this time, I was like, fuck it, AIW is free. It's not that far away. Let's go.
Yeah, that was so nice, man. Because so my work is right down, pretty much 2 buildings down from where AIW was set up at. So I just showed up and parked in my work parking lot, and then I fucked up and locked my keys in my car too. But luckily, roadside assistance came and unlocked my car for me. But yeah, that was perfect, man. I drove 10 minutes away from my house and I got to go watch AIW. It's so nice. That's one of the things I like about the Akron shows too, is it's 15 minutes from my house. So nice.
It sounds like me in the Akron shows.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm 20, but it's still like not that far.
It's like 3 turns for me to get to the Tadmor Shrine from my house.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. It's so nice. I love it. I'm not like, I prefer the shows at like the Odeon, and I've said this before because I don't feel like I can say fuck at Tadmor, but the 15-minute drive as opposed to the hour drive, so much better.
All right, man. Any final thoughts or last minute plugs before we go?
Normal stuff. Check out Radka Racing Family. They are a bunch of race car drivers that we sponsor. I'm not sure what's happening yet, but I was talking to Dan, and he said that he just got an invitation to go down to Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee, and race in February. So that's pretty cool. But if you're into racing, check out Radco Racing Family. We sponsor them. Also, brainbustertees.com. Bitcoin Boys have some merch up there. We sponsor those guys as well. So go check out their merch. They just got a new design in that I really love. With Eric sitting in the hot tub and Mikey doing a cannonball into it. That's just a real cool design. So go pick up some Bitcoin Boys merch. Social medias at Smokin_J's BBQ on Twitter and Instagram. Smokin' J's Catering on Facebook. February 12th, we will be at Toyhio with Ethan Page, Danhausen, and Scarlett Bordeaux, and Powerhouse Hobbs will also be there. And then in May, I don't know if we're going to be there both days, but I do know that we're going to be there at least one of them. I just don't know what day, but at the same place that Toyhio runs, the Girard Metroplex, Ohio Fan Fest is going to be running, and we will be there for that as well. Raven, Kurt Angle, Ty Conti, Anna Jay, a bunch of people from AEW. I think Sammy Guevara is on that list. A whole bunch of people that are currently signed with AEW are going to be there. And then if you are into horror movies, there's a bunch of horror movie actors and actresses that are going to be there as well. They're constantly posting new guest announcements. So check that stuff out. Other than that, I do catering. So if you have a party or a family event, or you're getting married, or you're putting on an event like Toyhio or Ohio Fan Fest, and you want me to come and set up and sell my food, hit me up on any of those social medias. But other than that, man, that's all I got. Appreciate you having me on again. This was fun as always, and I appreciate everybody that called in with questions.
And of course, you can find myself at jsummers330 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, much like you can find the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. And we have the merch store over at whatamaneuver.net. Like I said earlier in this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Check out our friends on the Trending Topics Network, such as All Beer Inside, Eurovision Showcase, Spanish Announce Table, and Wrestling with Altitude. Check out our other podcast friends, such as Pod Van Dam, Super Fantastic Podcast, It's Evolution, Baby, The IndieCast, Sobros Network, Biff Radio, Game Marks Podcast, Powerbomb Jutsu, Spotlight Series, Fully Posable, Doing the Favor, Positively Pro Wrestling, IWTV Guide, If You Catch My Grift, At Odds with Wrestling, Best in the World Podcast, Marks with Mikes, This Ends at Prom, and Porch Talk. Check out our other non-podcasting friends such as Thrift Store Jobber, The Savage Dash, The Mystery Men, Redline Radio, Mouse's Wrestling Adventure, VHS Party Tonight on Instagram, Good Company, Heart of Gold, Toyhio Toy Show, Time Capsule Toys, Stay Tough, Smokin' Jay's Barbecue, and be sure to use the 10% off code when you order of Cheers, so you can save yourself a little money. Wrestle Void, Midwest Territory, Southern Underground Pro, and the official graphic designer of Wrestling Cheers, Moy Boy Designs. That will do it for us here on Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially if you shave your butthole. Later.
It's the Wrestling Cheers. Get up on your feet, brightening your day in the middle of the week. And you gotta love the show. Yeah, you know it holds a title for the best podcast. Talking wrestling in Ohio. Finishing a cold one, take a load off. We ain't all about the prohibition like Josh, so we cheers. And then we sit back. Other shows are in the trash, kinda like they Nick Stapp. Like the name is Matt Justice, wearing all the gold. Wrestling Cheers is coming to a close. The #1 podcast going in the game. And one day everybody's gonna know the name. It's the Wrestling Cheers. This is Platinum Max, signing off. Ohio, good night. The world, good night. We love you. We'll see you next week.